this. Hello, Mike.
Hey, we made it. Hey, Laura.
We made this. So
Just
really nice to meet you, Mike.
yeah, it's good to be here.
Amazing. So everybody who has been patiently waiting for 5 minutes till we got this buffered off, meet Mike. Mike Rizzo. I met you just at the beginning of my career at Dream Data. So it feels like we're almost friends. At that time, you were just doing part time. It's like, oh, this is a little thing, like doing marketing ops and yada, yada, yada. It's not a little thing anymore. So, Mike Rizzo, founder, CEO of marketingoperations.com. So nice to have you here.
Yay, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's not little anymore. We do lots of fun things, all community led too. So I appreciate you inviting me on. It's been fun.
This is fantastic. So, today we're going to speak about building a community, what type of a community Mike is building, probably a little bit of the history, what happened there, and so on. But we're also going to talk a lot about marketing operations, about the not anymore up and coming title, the title that a lot of companies already have in their organizations. One of the titles that is getting really, really key and not many communities for those people to hang around with. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Same.
Mike, help us out with a little story of why did you actually thought of this community at all back then?
Goodness. Okay, sure. So the the start of this. So first of all, I want to start by saying like none of this was planned. I had no grand vision for any of this, right? But when organizations talk about being community led, um, we use that term all the time, and we really mean it. So really, what exists today is because the community came together and basically asked for a lot of what we've done. And so the short story is, like many marketing operations professionals, I was a team of one. Very few people in my organization had any idea of the challenges or let alone like what I was talking about when I was, bringing up some of the maybe issues of the way the systems integrated or the processes we might want to bring in. And so I endeavored to start a little thing on Slack. Slack was pretty new in 2017. It was like I was 2015, 2016, 2017 is when all this was sort of happening. I wrote a blog post about that Slack channel, and over time, people started asking to join it. And by 2019, the number of requests to join were too frequent for me to do a one-to-one invite process. And so I had to figure out a way to sort of automate that flow a little bit. Surprise, because we're in marketing automation and marketing ops people. And in doing so, I mentioned it one time on LinkedIn. It got picked up by some of those advocates in our community, Sarah McNamara and Daryl Alfonso and folks like that. And we started growing by about 110 people a month ever since
Wow.
then. So it's been a number of years, and we have over 5,600 members now. I like to think of it as going from a team of one to a team of thousands overnight or within seconds.
I
um,
love that.
so it's pretty cool.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. And so let's start talking about the industry itself of marketing operations, and then we can move into the community that you're building and how people can leverage that of what's up and coming. So you've been in the role before. So can you tell us a little bit about if somebody's new, for example, what is it that they should be expecting from the role and why is this up and coming?
Sure. I mean, I think it was what, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. It was the like fastest growing job, or like one of the most fast growing jobs on LinkedIn. And so, I think organizations realize that they need help organizing their tech stack and really organizing that in a meaningful manner around sort of the people and the processes, right? And I think it always starts with the people. And so when you ask me, like sort of what does it take to get started, or like it sort of depends on who you're talking about. Like the business owners need to know that this, or like the executives in the room, I guess, they need to know that this role is critical to running a as efficient and effective go-to-market tech stack as you can have, right? If you think of it like if you're a it doesn't matter if you're building a product or a service. It doesn't matter. You're selling something and you're trying to figure out how to streamline the delivery of that product or service all the time. You as a business owner, right? In B2B SaaS, you've got product managers and you've got people who are literally building the software. um, you should think of marketing operations in a very similar manner, right? Their product is all of the technology that has to help the business move forward, right? And making sure that that orchestration happens in a way that matters to the unique fingerprint of your business. And so they start with the people internally. They try to understand the process of what the go to market function looks like and who needs to be enabled in what ways. And then they try to service those organizations, those people, and those processes with the right technologies. And you don't start with the tech first, right? You think about the people in the process. So I think
Mhm.
for the businesses out there, that's the sort of like way to think about it. Um, for someone who's maybe looking to break into the role or anything like that, I would say maybe just get your start. And I think a lot of us get our start in marketing automation.
Yeah.
Like really, like email marketing is a nice place to sort of dip your toe in. But I would also encourage you to look at the new pillars of marketing operations that were published on our blog and launched at our conference last year, because it'll help you. It reflects on the structure that was introduced years ago by the thought leaders at Atumos, and expands upon that further, and then gives you a little bit of a architecture or like a framework to try to say, okay, well, which pieces of marketing operations are interesting to me as a practitioner, and where might I want to try to learn a little bit more about that? So I'd encourage you to look there as well. Sorry, I just rambled for like a long time.
It's very exciting. No, a lot of exciting stuff and a lot of follow-up questions as well. So I would love to talk a bit about the benchmarks that you have been talking about and also the releases that you did last year. And now you mentioned marketing operations pillars. So what does this role stand on?
Yeah, you would think I'd have these memorized by heart by now.
No, no
uh,
worries. You can share your screen here too.
Yeah, yeah. So importantly, I think it's really, really important to understand where these came from. So let me see if I can share my screen.
I think I should be able to.
Allow to share screen. Hey, folks, I switched browsers, so hopefully this works. All right.
Let me just, I think I need to
So
enable this.
pillars of marketing ops, and here we go. All right, cool. So we're seeing screens. Great. Really important to call out that in 2018, Edward Unthank and the team at Atumos really teed up what were very, very important foundational sort of archetypes or structures known as the four pillars of marketing operations. And last year, our team, or I shouldn't say our team, Daryl Alfonso worked with a number of other thought leaders in the space to try to expand upon what has changed since 2018 in this vocation. Um, and I think it's important for everybody to understand that these were the core initial four pillars. So platform operations, campaign operations, marketing intelligence. They would refer to that as MyOps, and then marketing operations development.
Mhm.
And as you sort of unpack each of these, and the details are absolutely within sort of their site, um, you'll start to understand some of the sort of nuances of what each of those might be. But this past year, we expanded, or I should say, Daryl and the team expanded and shared this at our conference. That maybe it was time to sort of revamp this a little bit and expand further on it. And so the new pillars that were introduced were around technology and data management. And so you might look at this as building custom tools and front end web development, martech implementations and migrations, system admin, data management, and data hygiene. Then there's strategy operations, StratOps for short. And this is really around like planning, the marketing finance, the organizational design, and some of the other sort of like special projects that happen. So really trying to orchestrate and orient your, you know, OKRs to go to market, right? And use the technologies and the processes to drive those. Enablement and PMO, I really like that this got added in. So the idea of like process design and tool adoption, how are you actually rolling out these technologies and enabling your team? Are you building out these campaigns and are you managing the agencies, or is it all internal? Right. So this idea of like folding in some of the elements of go to market campaign operations into this category also happens. And then you cannot talk about MarTech marketing in general without talking about the fourth pillar, which is, of course, like the marketing, business intelligence, and insights. So, like analytics, right? Obviously, Dream Data, you guys are very familiar with how important attribution analytics are. So, this is a key pillar in marketing ops, and you would work on the funnel reporting, the campaign analysis, ROI analysis, the customer experience analysis, so on and so forth. And so yeah, again, I've been rambling for a minute. There's a lot to unpack here, but
Yeah.
this is a really good framework to operate against when it comes to, well, where would I maybe want to build a career in this field, and which of these is interesting to you?
It's very interesting because, like, in a lot of people's minds, when you say operations, that sounds very data and very processes and how are we connecting, how are we reporting. But at the same time, it's so much about the people as well. About the people, how are we aligning across the organization, that type of a reporting. So it's not just one role fits all, so to say. I just want to get you side by side. There we go. You're here. Good. And when you are doing these types of researches as well, where do you think that the marketing operations role is going in the future too? Because it has changed a lot since you have started this as well.
Yeah, I think so. There's a number of topics to talk about in that area. Everybody watching this now, or perhaps the recording later, you are likely familiar with the term of revenue operations, or RevOps for
Yeah.
short. Um, I think categorically we continue to push as a community, as a vocation of practitioners in this field. We continue to push that RevOps is, at least at a bare minimum, the umbrella to house marketing operations, sales operations, and client success, like CS ops. Um, and I would say it is not sales ops 2.0. Just like thinking about, well, is there, trying to address the question that usually comes up between the lines, which is RevOps based? And my answer to that, and I think a number of us in the community would say no. It
Hmm.
is just sort of the umbrella to house an alignment of your go-to-market operations team, and you'll hear that term a lot too. Like go-to-market ops is perhaps a more encompassing view of uh, all the operational practices that need to enable a business to go to market.
Right.
um, so yeah, I would say marketing ops is a great path to becoming a CMO if that's something that you aspire to do. That is not for everybody, right? So that is, you don't get into marketing ops just because you want to be a CMO. But I do think the the foundational layer that you pick up from running a tech stack and aligning people and process um, is just amazing to your ability to become a data driven CMO, which every organization wants today.
So interesting. Yeah, and what a shift. Because before in times, those 5 or more years ago, a CMO is the brand person, the overall overarching umbrella that is the face of the company and stuff like that. And now we're talking data and introducing those types of CMOs to the picture. Future is exciting.
Yes, it's very, very exciting. It's a very unique, um, you know, it's a unique role in general, whether you're a CMO or some other executive, C-suite executive. The the needs of the business are so different today, right? I don't know many other executive roles that have the I don't know if it's experience, but definitely just the sort of vocational responsibility to say, well, tell me about your business. Let's learn about what's going on internally. Let me understand your product and the data that your product needs to be able to, hand it over to sales and enable them, get your customer success team to renew customers and all these other things. Let me understand your basically the entirety of your business from the top of the funnel to the bottom and the renewal again, and then let me figure out how to build like an architecture to support that business, right? um, it sort of sounds like a CTO CIO kind of a thing, but it's not. It's like it's marketing and it's business acumen and it's just different. And so it's a really exciting, I think the right word for it is exciting.
Where do you usually see marketing operations reporting to?
Personally, I see it more often rolling into it sort of straddles either like the just the marketing CMO, like VP of marketing kind of role, or the demand gen team. I don't really love it when it's in the demand gen department, because it ends up just like getting muddied with more demand gen metrics. And like our research would show that like the number one KPI for a marketing operations professional is pipeline, and a
Yeah,
lot of that is symptomatic of like who they're sort of reporting into. And like it's like your job in marketing operations isn't to generate pipeline. Right?
interesting.
It's an enablement function, but a critical function to say, well, here are the elements you need to create a better environment to generate pipeline. But my direct contribution to did we spend $1 and generate two is not so clear, right?
Interesting.
So it's like
Yeah, that's
it's
very
like
interesting.
saying, "Hey, product team or like developers, your job is to develop features that generate revenue." It's like, well, yeah, but like you don't measure them on how much revenue the feature they built generates. Like you measure them on the quality of their ability to deliver a quality product.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. That's
Great.
yeah.
People online, if you've got any questions for Mike, drop them in here. We're happy to answer them about the role itself or the community. Happy to do that. And now we're going to jump into a bit more into the topic of your community for itself. So, from where you were to start with your Slack community, what is the current status and where are you going with the community, Mike?
Sure. So current status of the community, marketingops.com is still sort of a baby. We only launched marketingops.com in June 2 years ago. So it'll be about 2 years old um, this June. And the community itself is a Slack-based community, for better or worse. um, and we have about 5,600 members today. We do have a podcast where we're sharing content thanks to the great work of Michael Hartman and Naomi Liu, the co-hosts that we have there. We're trying to share as much knowledge as we can through the podcast as well. And then we do annual research projects to try to get some benchmarks of just sort of the pulse check on what's going on with the industry. And our sort of ultimate goal is really just to create that sort of like educational layer of both like educating top and tail, right? So executives, what is marketing operations and why do I need it? Right? And then for those kind of realizing that the thing that they've been doing is called marketing ops, like how do we get them to learn that before they fall into the role? And so we're really trying to create that environment to educate the market, and then ultimately work with the community. I pulled a board of experts together last year, and I'll likely do it again this next year in 2025 to define what it truly means to be a certified marketing operations professional,
Mm.
but backed by the community, right? Not just like Mike's brain came up with a certification. Like
Oh, that's
it's
very
not valuable
exciting.
to anybody. So yeah, that's sort of what I aspire to do, so that I think with the right community-backed certification program in place, we're going to be able to protect a lot of people's jobs, right? And I don't mean that you don't get laid off. I just mean that you don't get handed a bunch of stuff that you just shouldn't be doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then therefore creating better career paths.
Exciting. Tell me more about how the collaboration happens in the marketing operations community, like for learning and to collaborate with your peers.
Sure, sure, yeah. So the Slack channel is free to join. There are channels that are specific to different marketing automation platforms. There are also channels specific to sort of just like tech stack discussions, right? Like strategies for lead scoring or data and analytics or even privacy and compliance. These are all challenges that we face. And you can just post into Slack anytime you want. Often someone will get back to you within just a few minutes, if not less, because there's a pretty active group there. If you do decide to join as a paid member of the community, it's $250 a year currently at our intro rate to become a pro member. And what that does is it unlocks access to some of our private channels for paid members only. It also gives you the ability, and I think this is probably the most important one, um, you can now connect one-on-one, just like you and I are doing here on this video chat, Laura. You can connect one-on-one with other members of the community, and it does that for you automatically. So you join this, it's a platform we have called Matcha, and it automatically, yeah.
Love matcha.
Yeah, it's great, right? And it automatically introduces you to a fellow community member. And when you think about how important it is to your career, to be connected to peers in your space, right? It's not just what you know, it's who you know. um, we are trying to facilitate that connection with our members as well. So we can do that in the online space. We can also do it in the offline space with in-person events. So paid members also have access to local meetups that are for the paid members only. And so we're trying to bring more of the community together physically as well. And so those are some of the ways in which you can sort of dive in and engage with the community.
Fantastic. And since the role is still up and coming, at least, well, you have one or two in your organization if you're lucky, then you definitely need some peers to speak about how I'm measuring stuff, because otherwise you're directed by a, I don't know, demand gen lead who wants you to report on revenue. and and like, why didn't we do that? What's the next thing we should do? For sure. I love that. And it's so supportive as well. Can you speak a bit more about the strategies and initiatives, how you make sure that the community is thriving and helping each other all the time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for anybody who's thinking about a community approach for their organization, I highly encourage you to first start with some of the, like, similar to the way I suggested marketing operations professionals look at a framework. There's a wonderful framework that was first introduced by CMX, which is a community for community builders. Um, and it's called the spaces model. And so it helps you sort of like understand what type of community you might be building: product oriented or innovation, support oriented, etc. In our case, we're a community of practice, so it sort of like falls a little outside of that, out of all of those models, and it's like a mix of all of them combined. But I first and foremost like say, hey, go look at these frameworks, because then it helps you understand what you might want to do to enable the community. And for us, enabling the community to stay healthy is it's a mix of a couple things. Like, one, you have to we do gate the community. You have to sign up, and it helps us keep bad actors out, right? Like
Yeah.
anyone who would have to be pretty gutsy to fill out the free profile, and like, it's not a huge barrier, but at least it's a barrier. We have some very hard and fast rules in our community guidelines that are published on the website, and we adhere to those regularly. We also encourage all of our members to point individuals to those rules at any given time, um, and then just to report to us if they see any sort of activity that they don't like. Maybe usually that comes in the vein of prospecting or selling or something like that, because this is a community for practitioners, right?
Yeah.
So you're not meant to be there trying to farm leads or anything like that. Um, and because we're not represented by any one organization, right, we're able to sort of keep that protective layer around the
Yeah.
community. Um, I would also say, like, for us, the things that have worked um, are leaning in on some of the programs that I was just talking about, right? The idea of coming together in different groups. When we first launched our community, we created what we refer to as the chairperson program, and this helped us give a member of our community an elevated status as the representative for a particular technology. So we honed in on the sort of the four most common, I would say, marketing automation platforms. So it was like HubSpot, Marketo, Pardot, and Eloqua. And we took in applications and then ended up
Interesting.
appointing somebody to represent the sort of that corner of the technology, and then just host really good discussions, right? And um, that kind of like niche within the niche
Mm.
really helps people align to what, I don't know, the learning potential for different categories, right? We did retire that program over the last year or two or year and a half. We'll likely bring it back. There was just like, we're a very lean team. We have like, I don't know, like 5, 6 of us that are really working on the business all the time, and then there's contractors and so forth, and so we were like, okay, well, we're launching a conference. It's hard to sort of juggle everything at once, right? So,
That
but
doesn't
yeah,
sound so little from that tiny Slack community that you build up more or less for yourself. Now, with having so many people to work around that, I think it's very impressive.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we have an incredible team that are all very, very passionate about just, you know, the idea of like bringing people together in this particular sector. And I'm very, very
Yeah.
lucky to have all of them involved now, because, yeah, when I was like, oh my gosh, the community wants so many things. How on earth am I going to be able to do? Like, I'll figure it out. And so, thankfully, I don't have to figure it all out by myself anymore.
Great. Tell me more about your up and coming event and what can
Yeah,
people expect from it?
yeah, absolutely. So last year we did Mopsapalooza. It was the inaugural year of that conference. This is, you're going to hear me sort of beat the drum over and over again. It is a community led event, which means that all of the sessions are from the practitioners themselves. There isn't any way for you to buy a sponsorship and get stage time. And so we really focus on giving our community members a chance to share their knowledge.
Love it.
Equally, we also create space for members of the community who don't normally get a chance to speak, right? So if you have never spoken before, Mopsapalooza is a great way for you to, flex that new muscle or build that new muscle. And we really want to support the community in that manner. So last year we hosted a hybrid event. It was 330 people that came together in Anaheim, California, right behind Disneyland. It was a great time. We will do it again in the same environment. In total, last year we had 750 attendees combined with the
Whoa.
online viewers as well. So this year we expect to, ideally do more than that, right, and reach more folks. Um, we will host it in the same location in Anaheim this November. It'll be the 4th through the 6th, and you can expect, again, community-led content. The thing that we are changing up is the agenda will be slightly different this year.
Mhm.
Um, on the first day, which is what I would refer to as day zero, Monday, we're actually hosting live training. So you get to
Oh,
learn
wow.
from the community members themselves that are experts in this field, um, on a wide array of topics. So some of them are very technical, like how do I actually leverage the Marketo API using Postman and maybe Zapier to create more automations and make me more efficient with my Marketo instance. Others are how do I actually build out a set of reports that the board and CMOs care about, and how do I support my organization when they're asking for these things. And so a really good mix of live training from real world practitioners, which I think is like super, super valuable, right? It's not, I don't know, it just feels different, right? These conferences you go to that are backed by, big software companies, they're all great,
Yeah.
for varying degree of reasons, right? Especially if you're super passionate about those technologies. But I think sometimes it leaves those that have been around in the role a little while. It leaves them a little hungry, right?
Yeah.
They're like, hey, someone show me how they actually did the thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so that's what we aspire to do. So we do have the tickets on sale now at early bird rates through the end of May. And you can buy one ticket to come to the conference and access two of those live workshops included. You can also buy the Magic Pass. The Magic Pass gets you access to two of the workshops, and you can come to Disneyland with us on Thursday. Um,
Okay.
so we do have that included as well, but it'll be a really good event. We are going to cap registration this year too. So our max capacity is about 680.
Okay.
So it feels like I think we've already sold 70 tickets this year.
Yeah.
So it feels like we're rapidly coming up against some of those
God.
numbers.
I really hope that you max out because it's a very good conference. And the content I've heard people sharing from it is amazing.
Yeah,
It's,
thank
yeah,
you.
all the best for you guys. Anything else that we need to have a chat about your community before we wrap up?
No, I would say just um, if you're just looking to expand in your career in general, or if you want to learn more about what this is all about, if you're a student graduating soon, I just spent time at my alma mater a couple weeks ago speaking to students, and they had no idea this was a category, right? Please come spend time with us. Be a fly on the wall. Join the free Slack channel. We're really here to just support you. So yeah, that's I don't know. It's an exciting time to be in marketing operations, and I would encourage people to, whether it's our community or another one, go get involved in a community. I guess is
I
the
agree.
message.
I agree. And Mike, you're building something very strong too for that niche of marketing operations. Because as you're saying, kind of most of the communities are targeted to some niches. And then there is a tiny one group for marketing operations where marketers are also there. It's not the same as you can learn how to do automations with Marketo or stuff like that. Not the
Yeah,
same. So it's really good.
yeah, definitely. I appreciate it, Laura, and I appreciate you having me on, and Dream Data. I love what you guys are doing with all this content, and your New York ads and these things. They're all exciting to follow. So
Thank you.
thanks
Thank
thanks
you.
for
You'll
all your
see
time.
more of those as well. For sure.
Cool.
Mike and everybody listening, thank you so much for today. We're done.
I appreciate it.
See you
Thank you.
later.